Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Fredericksburg, Texas. Today's verse is 1 Peter 5:4. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. Now, Peter has been giving advice to other elders, and he himself identifies as just another typical elder, yet, of course, he's got a few more years under his belt, and so he's giving this advice and saying that when the chief shepherd appears, you, other elders, will receive the unfading crown of glory. Now, regarding the chief shepherd, the best thing that an elder can do is bring his flock to a loving, correct relationship with the chief shepherd, and the main way to do that is two things: love that flock the way Jesus loves them, and number two, preach the word so that they really know who the true and real Jesus is. That's the best thing an elder can do. Point the way to the chief shepherd. Now, regarding the chief shepherd, if I had enough time, we would look at Psalm 22, 23, and 24. If you have time, you may want to look up those three Psalms and see what they say about the chief shepherd. But since we've got 5 minutes, let's just take some select passages from John chapter 10. Let's start in verse 1. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter by the door into the fold of the sheep, but climbs up some other way, he is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is a shepherd of the sheep. So an elder should be entering by the door. And then we jump down to verse 9. Jesus says, I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. So, the only way to get to the Father is through Jesus Christ. There is no other way, and yet there are some that try to get another way. That does mean that there are unsaved elders and pastors out there, as much as it pains me to say so, and they're trying to get to God some other way, maybe through a works-based theology, who knows, but not through the true knowledge of Jesus Christ and His Word. Then it says in verse 3, to him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. Jump to verse 5. A stranger they simply will not follow, but will flee from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers. When we really get to know Jesus through his word and through that personal relationship with him, we can start to recognize the false teachings that come out. For example, I was in a church that claimed that once we get to heaven, it's all about us. If I want to go skiing one day and then surfing the next day, that's going to happen in heaven, they claimed. And I don't see that in the Bible. I think that's not exactly God's voice. I know someone personally who claims, God told me I don't have to work anymore. He's just going to pour money into my lap. And the Bible doesn't say that either. So whatever voice you're hearing is not God's voice, and got to be careful of that. We need to know him and respond to his voice. Well, let's jump down to a couple of very important passages. Verse 11, I am the good shepherd, Jesus says, and I know, excuse me, the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. That's what Jesus did for us, and that's how much an elder should sacrifice for his own flock, loving them to death. And verse 14, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Remember at the end of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7, Jesus says that there's going to be people that say, Lord, Lord, didn't we do all these Christian things in your name? And Jesus is going to say, I never knew you. It's all about knowing him, having the Spirit coming in and running our lives, because we have sacrificed all of our human desires and loves to him. Back to our main verse, it ends with, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. Well, glory is for God and God alone, and we are not to usurp that. After all, that's what 1 John calls the boastful pride of life. But if it's God himself that's running our lives, then when we get to heaven, that part of us that's running our lives, God, is going to receive the glory. Isn't that terrific? So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average Dutch, and I hope you have a great week.